We're on. Hey, happy Monday, everybody. We're going to have a live stream today about all the TV deals. Yes, it's that time of the year. And a big hello to everybody. And if you haven't voted already, go to the top of the chat and click on the poll. I found it very interesting that about half of you are looking to buy a 75 to 85 inch TV. I know, Lisa, you can't fit anything more than a 65, but I'm certain you can. Try to fit a 77 inch next year. But hey guys, Petulant Beard, Lisa, of course, David, and lots of a few new fans. Hey, New York Jets fandom. Oh, the Jets. I know you got a lot of great questions, so if I missed your question, just keep on asking. Eventually, I will get it. But this is so awesome. Hey, Getty G-Man, what's up, buddy? Hello, hello. And let's see. So the deals have started already. So even though it's not yet Black Friday, you'll see on many retailers like Best Buy, it will say Black Friday pricing. So this is the twist. Even though it's their best Black Friday pricing, what's going to happen on Black Friday is that they'll put out a credit card gift card, right? Some kind of a gift card that you could use at Best Buy stores. So you'll still get that low pricing you see today, plus an extra $100 or an extra $200 gift card to buy accessories. So that may happen on certain models and certain sizes on Black Friday. Now, we don't know which brands. It could be Hisense, it could be TCL, Sony, LG, Samsung, right, Panasonic. They all may throw in that gift card at that retailer. So that's just something to think about. But when Best Buy says this is the Black Friday pricing, it probably will not get much lower. Just something to keep in mind. And we're going to go over all these deals. And if you are a AAA member, right, Automobile Club of America, Auto Association Club, something like that, I am. There is special pricing for Samsung buyers. So make sure if you're AAA, you take full advantage of that. I'm going to have that pricing as well. So big hello. Hey, Classy. Always good to see you, my friend. Our favorite calibrator. Now, let's see. We're going to start with this question before we jump into the deals and specials. Back to 1955. Do you connect your TV to the internet and keep it updated? Got the C5 but concerned it will change the picture quality. So the answer is I do. As a reviewer, I need to be on top of all these changes. However, that's my job, right? Good or bad, I'm connected to see what happens next so I can share with you guys. On the other hand, everyone else, keep it disconnected until reviewers and other users, owner forums, whatever, they will be the guinea pigs. You know, they're going to volunteer their TV, they're going to connect, and things will happen. Like KG lost HGIG when Samsung did their update a few months back. Now, Samsung promised to reinsert HGIG. I don't think that's happened yet. They're working on it, but nevertheless, I suggest you keep it disconnected until validation. Now, Ratings does a good job of updating their firmware as well and going through the changes, but sometimes you miss the changes because the brands don't always share everything that's changed. So something to keep in mind. But as a regular TV owner, TV consumer, we strongly suggest that you don't update until reviewers, other owners have shared with you their experiences. And then once you get a good feel for it, then update. So yeah, but as a reviewer, I of course do it. Okay, now let's jump in to the first brand deals, right? We're going to talk about Sony's Black Friday buying guide. Now, before we get into all of this, a quick shout out to our friends at Value Electronics who's sponsoring this video and live stream as well. They wanted to share their special bundle deals that's unique to them. If you buy any Sony TV or projector and get an AVR as well, you can save $100 on the 1000 ES, or if you get the 3000 ES AVR, save $200, or the 5000, save $300, and I love the 7000. I have personal experience with that one, save $400. So there's always these bundle deals. So when you do call Value Electronics, tell them FOMO sent you and say, hey, are there any special bundles, any store credit I can get with this purchase? And whatever's out there, trust me, Robert will throw that in and share it with you. And most importantly, as Black Friday has all these crazy pricing that's always changing, he will price match any authorized dealer. So and of course, he's the only retailer that offers in-store calibration of your TV and quality control before he ships it out. That means he'll open the box, he'll make sure the TV is good to go, he'll break it in for the several hundred hours it requires. Then Dwayne Davis will come by and calibrate the TV multi-modes, not just one darkroom mode, but they will talk to you and say, hey, darkroom is one mode. Do you have a brighter room? Do you want gaming? So they will calibrate to whatever request you have. There are like 3 or 4 modes available. So that's something worth discussing. Now let's get into the Sony deals that is available right now. Now, the X90L is still a great TV. I like that TV a lot. It's strange that Bravia 5 is actually priced sometimes either lower or the same. When priced the same or lower, I would go with the Bravia 5. But here are the X90L sizes I really like. 85-inch at $13.99 or 75-inch. And a lot of you will ask, wait, I can get a TCL or a Hisense for less. I get it. I'm not going to convince you to get the Sony, other than if you are a Sony fan, I can tell you right now, when you get a Sony TV, there's not a lot of settings tweaking involved. It's a lot of plug and play, and I like that. But those of you who like to tweak it to its maximum potential, you'll be doing a lot of tweaking with the TCLs and the Hisense to get that perfect image of skin tones and whatnot. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But I'm going to have a video on Sony TVs probably later this week, why there's the Sony tax. But so here are the prices. Now the Bravia 9 is still easily the best mini LED TV out there, bar none. Even though we're in 2025 and this Bravia 9 was released almost 2 years ago, it's still, in my opinion, the best. And the price premium reflects that. It's not a great deal, but at least it's a discount. And as you see, we also have the A95L, which is still relevant, especially the 77-inch size, and the king of TVs at 55 and 65-inch this year, the Bravia 8 Mark II. And these are finally kind of like the Black Friday prices we're going to see. It may drop another 100 maybe by the end of the year, but this is pretty close to the lowest prices. So let's see. Oh, we got a few super chats already, so let's hit it real quick. Thank you, Homero Bolanos. Best TV for HDR impact on Netflix, HBO, and Apple TV with dynamic tone mapping on, while having filmmakers as accurate as possible. A 65-inch G5, a 77-inch C5, or a 77-inch S90F. I would go with a 77-inch S90F for 2 reasons. One, size makes up a huge difference over a slight brighter color luminance, right? So first, look at your source. Your source is Netflix, HBO, Apple TV. So with DTM on, or in the S90F, it'd be active mode on. You are artificially raising that brightness a little bit more, so that's not to the creator's intent. So you can't have it as accurate as possible while having DTM on the G5 or active dynamic tone mapping on the S90F. You have to choose your poison. If you're going for accurate as possible, you don't need that extra firepower of the G5, but if you're going with that extra saturation, extra luminance, that might be slightly inaccurate because you're more pop. The slightly larger size of the S90F will get you there, I think, more satisfyingly. And the pricing of the S90F, let me show you right now. I am really impressed by what Samsung has done here. Here we go. Let's look at this, right? So the S90F, 77-inch. If you're a AAA member, it's $17.99 plus at least a 2-year warranty. That's huge, right? So if you're a AAA member, you log into your AAA and then you log into Samsung. I put the links below. So just click on the links and you'll get in. You'll get the $17.99 pricing. And before you check out, make sure you ask in chat, hey, where's my extended warranty, right? Try to get the 4-year if you can, but I think you'll still get the 2-year warranty. Totally worth it because all of these TVs are unpredictable, panel lottery being what it is, unlucky being what it is, right? If it dies in the next 13 months, you're covered and it's part of the price. So AAA pricing on the S90F at 77-inch is $17.99. That blows away anything else out there in terms of performance and pricing right now. So with the extra size, with the extra color luminance and the brightness that you want, definitely I would go with the 77-inch S90F, and you will get a great HDR impact. I think in this group, although the G5 has slightly better HDR impact, slightly, the size difference, I would go towards the S90F. So hopefully you get the great pricing, and let me know how you enjoy that TV. Next up, Robert Conrad, another regular. Thank you so much for your generosity, Robert. Speaking of updates, have you updated the G5 to the newest 0.65? I just did. Literally yesterday, I was watching a little Netflix and boop, it popped up. Any noticeable differences in brightness? And hello, FOMO. So this is such a good question. Okay. The only way you're going to notice difference in brightness is if you actually push the TV to its maximum, not filmmaker mode, right? That's not, the source is just filmmaker. What you need to do is get Jennifer Gallo's content, push it as hard as you can, because Jennifer Gallo's content demands 4,000 nits, 5,000 nits. So the TV is at its limit. And then from there, you can see, oh, how does it compare to the reference monitor? There is no way you will know if it's a little bit brighter or not. The other way to do it is sports in vivid or standard mode, right? Max out everything. But ultimately, from watching Netflix and all that, you will not notice any brightness jump at all because Netflix isn't that bright. We're talking almost all of its content 200 to 300 nits, even with HDR, you're under 400 nits, guaranteed. And so the extra brightness does not improve Netflix. It doesn't improve HBO or any of that. What it does improve is SDR sports. You need that extra brightness in a bright room. So if you're watching sports in a bright room, that may help. But I'll tell you this, Robert, going from, throw out an example. Let's say your full screen is, I don't know, 300 nits, and now it's 330 nits, 350 nits, 380 nits. You're not going to notice that difference. Unless you have a meter, your eye will not perceptually see the difference going from 300 or 250 to 300, right? That extra 50 to 60 nits, not noticeable because it's logarithmic as far as brightness is measured. You'd have to go from 300 to double, 600, to see that doubling in brightness. Or get a larger size TV, same brightness, and it feels brighter because it's a larger TV. But I haven't tested the new G5 firmware update, but if you watch most normal content, the extra brightness, if it's there, will not be noticeable. What I'm hoping they fix is any of the near black shadow detail posterization issues that people complain of. Maybe get it as good as Panasonic. Now, personally, I don't see it getting worse. It's gotten better. I see shadow details not as crushed as it used to be. So that's where I think they're focusing the fix. But as far as the brightness, I'll leave it to ratings and their meters to give you that extra 50 nit measurement that you want. But as far as perceptual, Robert, you're not going to notice. Unless, again, you're in vivid mode, sports brightness, you're watching hockey, and you're noticing it's slightly dimming. That you may notice. Good question. And let's see here. Oh, well, let me go back to the Sony since we didn't finish the Sony deal. Let me go and make sure we cover all of the Sony deals real quick here. Let's see. I'll tell you my favorite Sony deals. So let's talk about the Bravia 5 and the X90L in context. So first, you don't see me put any deals for the Bravia 7, and this is why. I personally feel that the Bravia 5 is so close to the Bravia 7 in performance that if you're going to pay the premium, better to jump to the Bravia 9 or get a Bravia 8 or save money and get the Bravia 5. I think the Bravia 7 is in a no man's land. Yes, it's good. It's a good TV, but you're paying a lot for being second to the Bravia 9. Most of you who are watching TV shows, Netflix, streaming, all of that, the Bravia 5 looks probably nearly identical to the Bravia 7. And this is where it's tough because Sony has to have its pricing categorized perfectly. And I think the Bravia 7 is just right in the middle because if you're going to pay a premium, I'd go with the Bravia 9 or QD OLED. Or really save money and get the X90L at 85 inches at $1399. Now, I do have the 98-inch, and I'll be reviewing that later this week. And so I can share with you what my thoughts are. But both Brian and I, Brian of Brian's Tech Therapy, were so impressed with the Bravia 5. And this is despite ratings killing it. We're like I don't understand what's ratings looking at. And I really think is because they limit the review to filmmaker mode, or rather professional mode, which is indeed capped, right? Professional mode, they cap the brightness. But if you go to movie, cinema, standard, it goes brighter, and you just have to change the color to expert one, and suddenly you have that bright, color accurate image without sticking in professional mode. So I think ratings needs to revisit its setting because it's stuck in professional mode. That's not what people see if they want it brighter. Professional mode is really limited to that dark room. And this is partly Sony's fault, but I think a lot of owners will be exploring standard mode or regular cinema mode, and you'll get the brighter scenes. So it's just something that we find interesting, that a lot of reviewers limit themselves to professional mode. It is darker. And we've complained to Sony, like, why are you limiting the brightness in professional mode? But I guess that's what Sony does. So, all right, let's see what you guys got here. And it's a couple of super chats. Let's hit that. Oh, a couple more from Robert Conrad. All right, Robert. Bought the B5, the LG B5 last week when it was a doorbuster at Best Buy. I love those doorbusters. And that's another thing. So Black Friday is their Black Friday pricing, but when there's a doorbuster that's like 12 hours during Black Friday or the holidays, for 12 hours, they have limited inventory, and it'll be a bit cheaper than the cheapest price they've had all year, but it's limited inventory, so you got to jump on it. So congratulations, you got a doorbuster. I am really impressed. I thought I would be disappointed. So this goes to, let's jump to my LG and Samsung prices real quick. And this is a good point. Thank you, Robert. And thank you for the super chat. The LG B5. If you're getting your first OLED TV and you're moving from an old LCD TV, please start with the largest B5 you can afford, whether it's the 77-inch or the 83. You are going to be so amazed by the infinite contrast and that extra size. It's not as dim as people think, especially if all you watch are Netflix, Disney, Hulu, broadcast TV. Sports in a bright room is the only limitation, because in a bright room you want it to have more punch, especially if you're watching white hockey ice. That needs to maintain its brightness, and it will not do a good job with that. You'd have to go up to a G5 or an S90F or an S95, or specifically the 83-inch G5 primary RGB, or the S95F, which is that 83-inch also primary RGB, because that could preserve that brightness of hockey sports. But short of that, the B5 on everything else would look just phenomenal, especially at the larger sizes. And this is why I think the C5, it's got a cot in the middle. If you're a gamer, you want the extra HDR pop in certain transient scenes, I get it, C5, right? But the reality is, if you're just streaming and watching regular content, don't get the C5. Get the B5, take that money you save and get the larger size. So for example, the 77-inch C5 is $19.99. Forget that. For $19.99, get the 83-inch B5. That extra 6 inches of space, right, the size, it's huge, right? It's a big difference, and it's totally worth that jump to the size rather than getting a C5, because I just think that size immersion adds a little bit more to both the brightness perception, and it's just more immersive. So, but thank you for that, Robert. Oh, I keep forgetting. And of course, Robert watches in Vivid. And for some context, there is no shame in watching your TV in Vivid, right? Everyone sees color differently. They have taste and preferences. And I love sharing that Samsung tracks the different modes that people watch. And the number one mode by far, when people change their mode from whatever is on the TV, where they plug it in, so most people don't even change it out of eco mode, right? They plug it in and they just watch it. But those that do, you know where they go? Dynamic mode. Dynamic mode is the number one mode outside of the standard eco mode that comes default on your TV. So yeah, Robert, you know what? It's fine. Yeah, so if you're watching in Vivid, so yes, if the G5 upgrades the Vivid to a little bit brighter, and I'll tell you guys this, the G5 in Vivid is a bit better than the G4 in Vivid. I found the contrast and the color to be much deeper, better saturated. On the G4, it appears as bright, but that brightness is diluting some of that color and the contrast, right? It feels slightly washed out. So if you watch in Vivid, definitely get the G5 over the G4. This is really where the G5 stands out. But if you're watching filmmaker mode, Netflix or Hulu, whatever, don't waste your money on the G5. Get the G4. It's going to look exactly the same. But yeah, Vivid mode, G5. Big difference. And we got a super chat from a guy with a very long number. It feels like some secret code. 26855445268555259. Thank you for that super chat. You deserve that readout. Own a 77-inch LG G4 in my living room, but wondering if a mini LED like a Bravia 9 85-inch is more suitable. I feel like OLEDs are so inky, they lose the cinematic projection-like feel. What are your thoughts? Really, it's size. So, because the word cinema is very much subjective, and if you look at the Bravia 9 85-inch, $37.99, so it's cheaper than the 83-inch G5 or S95F. So if you are trying to keep within a certain budget, I like the Bravia 9 a lot. It is close enough to OLED that I don't feel I'm losing much for that additional size. It is literally the best mini LED you can get that gets as close to OLED as any mini LED out there. Now, some might argue the QM9K from TCL is also very close to OLED, but the Bravia 9 is a better TV, so you're even that much closer. Obviously, enthusiasts will notice the difference. I think it is a great jump, mostly because you're going up in size, going up to 85-inch. So yes, the cinema feel will be better because of the additional size. But I suggest you hold off on the 85 and get a 98-inch Bravia 9 Mark II. This is pure speculation on my part, but in 2026, Sony likely will introduce a Bravia 9 equivalent at that 100-inch, 98-inch size. Currently, their best 98-inch is the Bravia 5. And the Bravia 5 definitely is not a Bravia 9. Hold off. If you're going to spend this much, maybe save a bit more to get a 98-inch. And trust me when I say you're not sitting too close. If you're sitting 8 feet away, 98-inch is absolutely perfect for 8 to 9 feet away. I'd watch 115-inch from 9 feet away. Like I currently have a 110-inch ultra short throw screen, and I'm 9 feet away, and it's just perfect. So if you need to get it now, Bravia 9 85-inch, great, very immersive. But if you could hold off, next year, 100 inches is going to be the play for Sony fans. All right. And hey, thank you for the super chat. And Sekon, I am sure you have a question coming up, so I don't see it here, but keep on asking, I will find it. Maybe that's his Swiss account number. Nothing like publishing your secret account number to the IRS, right? FOMO is 40 minutes late. I am. I apologize for that. Traffic, and then I had this chocolate scone and I couldn't stop eating it, and then I realized, oh, I forgot to put my pricing up. So yeah. Oh, here's your question. Here you go. Ensakan. Hey FOMO, I have a 77-inch A95L in a light controlled room. I wanted to get a bigger size though. I was looking at the 83 to 98-inch size. What do you recommend? I was looking at the 98-inch Sony Bravia 5. So know that at 98 inches, you don't have that OLED contrast. However, I have the 98-inch Bravia 5 and I have a 98-inch X90L. And I've been watching that 98-inch X90L for a while now. And I'll tell you, it looks good. It's not the best, but you forget about all the crazy numbers, contrast, and all of this because of the size. You're just enjoying the content. And so I think the 98-inch Sony Bravia 5 currently, $39.99, is absolutely the better move because going into that larger size in a light control room, brightness is not an issue. Skin tones will be spot on when you turn on the TV. I think it's a great move. I'm a big fan of that Bravia 5, no doubt. Okay. And the G4 beats the G5 in the black and shadows department. The meters show it. I'm not going to argue that. I think the G4 is a great TV. Really, the G5 is elevating the color luminance, color saturation, and vivid mode. I think that's what really makes a difference. But yeah, near black shadow, which is where most of you are watching, the G4 is absolutely fine. I'm a big fan of that. And if you can get the G4 for a few $100s cheaper than the G5, save that money. But keep in mind, strangely, the G4 and G5 are only within $100 of each other. When it's that close, I might still go with the latest processor, only because updates on the latest processor is just a little bit better, or it lasts a bit longer. Okay, an 83-inch G5 for $5,000. Wow. Well, actually, you know what? Let's revisit. What is the pricing? Currently, I'm sure it'll drop later. Yep, $5,000 for 83. So, the S95F 83 is also primary RGB OLED, and if you're a AAA member, $500 cheaper, it's $44.99 plus installation and a 2-year warranty, extended warranty at least. Although in the G5, you get the panel replacement warranty, that's 5 years. But then with Samsung, I'm sure extending it to 4 years for full coverage, labor included, is not going to be that much more if they don't give it to you outright in chat. So that's just something to think about. So yeah, 5,000 I think is hefty, even for an 83-inch. I'd hold off on that and wait. And this is, I think, why OLED is having trouble keeping up with mini LED. That's pretty expensive for an 83-inch when you can get a 98-inch for less. And the immersion just makes up that difference in contrast, I think. And this is why Sony fans love Sony. Sony has always been the cleanest in class because of the processing. Generally, this is how I feel about Sony. It's plug and play. You don't tweak any of the settings. You turn it on, go into professional mode or standard, and you just enjoy it, no matter what you're watching. Whereas with TCL and Hisense, there are certain scenes like 1917 or dark scenes. Oh, what happened to the gamma? You got to go into gamma, move it to gamma 2.0 or 2.2, right? Depending on your model. Okay, I can see the shadow detail now. Oh, what is this? I got to enable dynamic tone mapping. Whereas the Sony, just leave it in one setting and everything looks exactly as it should be in every scene. It's not the brightest. It's not the sharpest in terms of the best contrast, but everything just looks like it's solid no matter the source, no matter the scene. And I think that's why I recommend it a lot. The only problem is its pricing. It is a bit premium, but you know, you got to choose your poison, right? Hey, thanks, Habs, for that reminder. Hit like, everybody. And this way, while we're going over this live stream, more people could jump in and yell at me. And thank you again for joining me on this wonderful Monday afternoon. Is it a Veterans Day tomorrow? And okay, let's talk about my favorite value of the year, the TCL QM6K. So Kinsujibuj Project 3623 bought the TCL QM6K 75-inch for $699. That's a wonderful price, wonderful size. 75-inch is the new 65-inch. What a deal. This will hold me until Dolby Vision 2 gets implemented into the mainstream. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Why spend so much now before Dolby 2 rolls out? So we've got a lot of things happening here. First, QM6K. If your budget is $699, get the 75-inch. It is fine for almost everything you watch. It doesn't push any of Jennifer Gallow's HDR content to the maximum, but it's good for almost everything else. Columbo, Bionic Woman, Friends, news, TV shows. Now, sports may not be as bright as the QM8K or the QM9K or the Bravia 9 or even the Bravia 7, but at 75 inches, that size makes up the difference, I believe. Now, if you want anti-glare matte, stick with the QM6K and go up to 98-inch for under $2,000. I am very certain by Black Friday, the QM6K 98-inch at Best Buy or any retailer will be closer to $1,800. That's phenomenal for such a good TV. Or if you don't like the matte screen, get it at Costco for under $2,000. It's called the Pro, and it's a semi-gloss screen. So something to think about. And now let's talk about Dolby Vision 2. It's going to be a few years, as you said. First, they have to announce it, which is what they did this year. Second, the TV makers have to support it, and no one's supported it yet except for Hisense. So it'll be about at least another year before everyone jumps on board. So we're talking 2027 models. And then the content suppliers, Netflix, Prime, Apple, Hulu, whoever, right? It's going to take them at least 2 years to reformat everything. to stream it in Dolby Vision 2. It may be 3 years, right? So you're good to go. Now, why Dolby Vision 2? Like, what's so great about it? For me, the only relevance is if you're going to pay extra for a bright TV, you need Dolby Vision 2 to raise that brightness of the source to match the capability of your TV in an accurate manner. Like, it's not crazy vivid, right? It's just doing the specular highlights a little bit brighter. It's not changing the color, where most TVs today, to go brighter, they push the blue, they push the green, and suddenly everything looks neon, right? Vivid dynamic mode. So Dolby Vision 2 promises that it'll still be that natural filmmaker mode, but everything is pushed brighter because Dolby Vision 2 allows it to just push the specular highlights, nothing else. But if you're looking at regular content anyway, I don't know if you need Dolby Vision 2. If you're watching mostly, I don't want to say Netflix, but things like old TV shows, you don't need it. Netflix does need it, because Netflix, if they give us Dolby Vision 2, then we as consumers can elevate the specular highlights. Now, this is in theory. How it's implemented is a whole other matter. So on paper, this looks really good, but I got to wait to see how the TVs implement it with the granular controls. Do I get to control where in the scene it gets brighter? So there's a lot of question marks before Dolby Vision 2 becomes a thing, at least 3 years. So yeah, no, that's a good plan. Guys, just buy your TV now, enjoy it. You're not going to see Dolby Vision 2 relevance for at least 3 years. Enjoy your TVs, no doubt, no doubt. And here's another, and this is why I've been hammering Dolby Vision. Lord Oberman says, I have the Samsung 900D, so that's the 8K TV, 85-inch. Dolby Vision isn't extremely important after I've had it on several Sony TVs. So Dolby Vision, in my opinion, as it's implemented right now, does nothing for me. HDR10 is fine. Dolby Vision doesn't add to it, nor does HDR10 Plus, right? The TVs are so good at tone mapping and making everything look like it should look to the creator's intent. And many of you will argue, well, it was gridded in Dolby Vision. Don't we need Dolby Vision? Every TV does it differently. Like, Sony has had problems getting Dolby Vision right out of the box. You're going to have to get it calibrated if you truly want creator's intent Dolby Vision. It's lifted a bit too bright, but even then, unless you're in a reference room, you don't want to watch Dolby Vision dark anyway. I think it's way too dark. I prefer Dolby Vision bright on all my Sony TVs. I've not been impressed. Like, this is why I recommend Samsung. Dolby Vision is not a game changer, nor is it a deal breaker. So for those of you asking, does it matter if it doesn't have Dolby Vision? Doesn't matter if it has it, doesn't matter if it doesn't have it. It's not a big deal. So yes, thanks for that reminder. And we got a few super chats here. Sebastian Brundy, 3865. Thank you. Hi there from South Africa. I wanted to ask you, would you recommend the QNED 86-inch or the 65-inch C5, C4? And another question. I'm deciding between a 65-inch G5 or the 77-inch G4. 77-inch G4. That extra size makes up the difference for anything the G5 brings to the table. It's not worth the drop in size. So definitely the 77-inch G4. I love that size. I love that TV. Great TV. And the rule now when it comes to LG is get even numbered OLED. So G4, G6, G2. Always slightly better than the one before it. It's weird how LG does it. The odd number years are the ones where they introduce a new technology and it hasn't been quite baked, and they have to upgrade the processor on the even years to get caught up to the hardware they've introduced. So we feel the G6 is going to be what primary RGB OLED should be. So, but yeah, the G4 77-inch, I'm very happy with that TV and that size. Now, the QNED 86-inch. So I'll tell you right now, I do not recommend LG's QNED TVs at all. They're overpriced, they underperform. It's like a 1-2 punch. Contrast is terrible. Blooming control is terrible. Quality control is terrible. For that price, 85-inch, get a QM7K if it's available to you, or a C7K, or a Hisense U75QG if it's available. I know in the US it's slightly different than Australia and other parts of the world. So, but at least the C7 appears to be more uniform across all regions. I'd recommend getting the C7 or Q7K 2025 over LG QNED 85-inch size if you can get it, because it's just LG has really dropped the ball on its QNED and mini LED TVs for the last 3 years. You could tell all the resources have gone into OLED, and that's fine. So if you're in the hunt, if you're shopping mini LED, it's going to be Sony, TCL, Hisense, and Samsung. So any of those 4 TVs, but at that price point, Samsung is not good enough. You have to go into their higher end. At that price, I would say the Sony X90L would be better than the QNED, or the Bravia 5 85-inch, or the C7K if you're on a budget. And the reason why I can't say Hisense is I'm getting comments from other regions that the U75 in other parts of the world are slightly underpowered, less dimming zones, less brightness, and so I'm like, ugh. So that's why in the US it's called the U75QG, whereas in other parts of the world it's called the U7Q. U7Q, U75QG, apparently very different TVs. So TCL C7K appears to be more standardized. That's why I'm recommending it. And it's a great TV. Hopefully that answered your question. And let me know what you buy on Black Friday, Sebastian. Hey, Getty, haven't seen you in a bit. FOMO S95F 83-ish. Is it Tandem OLED confirmed or not? So the retailer that we spoke to confirmed it, but Samsung would not. Vincent confirmed it in the UK, but Samsung officially will not. So it's still a gamble because we can't get Samsung to confirm it. But anecdotally, people are confirming it, whether it's at the retailer level, but then of course, Samsung won't confirm it. So they're kind of like, well, we'll look at it. It looks very similar to the LG's primary RGB pixel structure. So I don't know. I'll go with the wisdom of the comments, which is Vincent's confirmed it out of the UK, and some US retailers have confirmed it. So we'll have to do it that way. And hey, all right, we got someone pulling the trigger finally. You stopped the FOMO. Just stopping by, watching you and Brian for the last couple of months diligently. Why, thank you. Finally pulled the trigger on the TCL QM9K 75-inch at the same price as the QM8K. Isn't that crazy, guys? TCL is just all over the place with pricing. Great move. It is amazing coming from a Samsung. So let me tell you my impressions of the QM9K. Give it some context. QM9K, more accurate than QM8K, both in terms of color and in terms of luminance. QM8K over brightens everything. Definitely its EOTF is off and the color saturation is slightly off. The QM9K is the first mini LED TV that nearly matches the Bravia 9 in terms of color accuracy out of the box. Now, its biggest weakness is dark scenes. I recommend, Joel, if you have a dark scene, wow, everything's crushed. You got to go to Gamma 2.0. 2.2, 2.0. Even though TCL says 2.2 is the default setting, it's still too dark. You have to go to 2.0 to see the detail. They need to fix that, and they are, right? So they're working on that black crushing in the dark scenes, 1917, or you're watching Extraction. You need to go to 2.0 Gamma. Other than that, though, skin tones are natural. It pops. I'm a big fan of the QM9K, but then to the point where everyone says, oh, 6,000 nits is amazing. None of those reviewers, trust me when I say they're not measuring the brightness in real content. It is not that bright. On a window with a meter, I'm sure it hits 6,000 nits. I'm not going to argue that. Put in real content, it does not get brighter than the QM8K. It does not get brighter than the Bravia 9. It is actually slightly less bright. Its accuracy is okay, but above 2,000 nits, it is over processing the tone mapping, right? It's too aggressive. And this is something they need to address. If they're going to advertise 6,500 nits or whatever, unleash it. I'm not seeing it in sports. I'm not seeing it in vivid mode. I'm not seeing it with Jennifer Gallo's content. I'm not seeing it with alpha. So to me, the QM9K has so much headroom available that they're not using all those dimming zones. Now, the good news is it's as close as you're going to get to the Bravia 9. How about that? So for the same price as the QM8K, go for it. It's a great TV, but not at the premium they were charging at launch, for sure. David, Here's some follow-up on the QNED 86. It looks nice on YouTube reviews for the first view, and they have discounts right now for a 100-inch. I wrote a ticket to tech support, how many dimming zones, and they refused to reply. So here's the thing. At 100 inches, all TVs will look immersive. And if you're getting a great price on it, go for it. Only because you're getting a great price on it, right? But I strongly recommend getting an extended warranty. The one issue I've had with LG QNEDs, and some of the reviewers have had it as well, is the light leakage along the edges. But it's only noticeable in some scenes. It's so hard to buy a TV based on YouTube reviews if it's the only TV. There has to be context. If a TV sits in a vacuum, I guarantee you a Roku TV that's $500 will look amazing. But when you have that $500 Roku TV next to a $550 TCL QM6K, the QM6K will look slightly better because they're side by side now. So in a vacuum, when the TV sits alone, it looks good. I mean, we are in the golden age of TVs where everything actually looks pretty good. But if you want the best performance for the money, that's when the side-by-sides really tell the story. And unfortunately, the QNED 86 has not been compared side-by-side by any reviewer. I don't know why. Maybe it's hard to get a 100-inch next to another 100-inch. But ultimately, though, it comes down to pricing. I think the Immersion, you're going to win. It could be slightly worse, but at 100 inches, that Immersion should make you happy. It's just, I just have my doubts about the way they control the dimming zones. Now, it looked good. I saw it in person at the LG event. It looked great during CES, but then it's always when you bring it in, have it next to another TV. Wait a minute. It looks good, but not as good as this TV. So, you know, that's always the issue, guys. Always. But WebOS is another thing. If you prefer WebOS, get the LG. If you prefer Tizen, Samsung has a few 98 inches for you as well. All right, let's see. And hey, we got another super chat from Ensicon. I'll wait to see your question, so I'll jump to Joey Engine real quick, who has the question. I respect your advice for years. Thank you, Joey. I'm torn between the Samsung QN90F, the OLED S90F, and the LG C5. Coming from a Samsung, sorry, I got blocked. I'm coming from a Samsung Q90R. Oh, I have the Q90R 2019. Great TV, yes, it's long in the tooth now. It's definitely fallen behind in dimming zone, reaction time, all of that. It's not tone mapping well at all, even with basic Netflix content. So good upgrade. So here's my suggestion. Get the OLED S90F. The QN90F, so here's where Samsung is when it comes to Neo QLED. They've hit their peak. Their peak was 2 years ago. The QN95B. The Q95C, I think is so similar. 95A, 95B, 95C, this is it. That was the peak of their Neo QLED mastery. And then they started pulling back. QN90F, they're like, wait a minute. People aren't going to pay their premium for the best. We'll give you second best. And this is the QN90F. So the S90F, however, is the best. It uses the best QD OLED. It's software limited in terms of its brightness because it's got to save a little something for the S95F, which is slightly brighter. But the OLED S90F, to me, is the superior TV, hands down, compared to all three models. And now it stops at 77-inch. QD OLED does not get larger than 77. So if you're up to 77-inch, get the S90F. And the deal is pretty good if you're in the US, right? AAA members can get a great price for it that's cheaper than the LG C5. The C5 is fine, but when the S90F is the same price, I would get the S90F all day long. And you're used to Samsung, right? I like Tizen personally, so yes. For you, Joey, S90F. All right. And let's see what you got here. Oh, I'll get another super chat. Oh, and Sakan, still waiting for your chat. I'm sure it's there somewhere. If I miss it, ask again, my friend. Oh, here's a good question. FOMO, what's your favorite pizza? It changes. Depending on who the pizza maker is, I do like the mushroom with truffle oil, like a basic white pizza, if I'm in the mood. or I like a heavy meat pizza, like lots of meat, right? Sometimes I want a margarita, but it has to be thin crust. I am a thin crust guy. I like the crispy texture of the crust. I don't like the dense carbs. That's just me. I can't do deep dish. Deep dish, I taste too much of the dish, not enough of the stuffing, right? So I'm a big, thin pizza with just layers of subtle flavors on top. So that's my favorite kind of pizza. So New York City, obviously love that. Chicago, too much of the deep dish for me. And I think California Pizza Kitchen has lost their touch. I'm not a fan anymore. Maybe I'm just kind of jaded with some of the craziness there. And here's a good point. I've been using OLED TV since 2017 and have tried many mini LED and always go back to OLED. And that's fine. OLED, if you're used to that contrast, it's what it is, right? It's always that balance between, I want to get bigger, but OLED doesn't get any bigger. And I will tell you, I don't believe OLED will ever have an affordable 97-inch. Their current 97-inch is over 20,000, like 24,000. If they can get that down to under 10,000, that'd be awesome. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So you're stuck at 77 inches. 83 is still too expensive, I think, unless it's $2,000 for the B5. So that's fine. 83-inch B5, 2,000. Actually, let me pop that up right now. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so the B5 at 83 inches, $19.99. That is my go-to recommendation. If you're going to a large OLED, that is so good. People just poo-poo it because it's a B5. B series, this is not the A series. A B series is solid, it really is. Especially with the money saved, you can get it calibrated at Value Electronics before shipment for a few $100s more, and then boom, now you have a calibrated TV for less than the price of a C5 uncalibrated at 83 inches. Something to think about. Wait, Brandon. Ironically, Chicago's crispy thin crust pizza is the best. Brandon, share with us which pizza place, right? It always depends on the pizza place. Share with us, Brandon, where in Chicago is the best crispy thin crust? Because I'm with you. I love crispy thin crust. I would like to eat the crust, but not when it's like a thick, it's like, it's all this carbs. If you guys don't know, I'm so anti-carb for no reason. Carbs should supply the texture, the crunch, but not the extra carby stuff that carbs only supply, right? I want texture from my carbs. And oh my God, 97-inch from where you are is 3,000-4,000? Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, that's a no-go. That's not going to happen. Okay, so here's a good question. Petulant Beard asks, FOMO, do streaming apps really take advantage of brightness peak of the S90F? HBO, Disney, blah, blah, blah. Living room gets some daylight, 70% streaming show, sports, 30% gaming. Better to get no raised blacks with the C5. Okay, so the raised blacks is an issue with QD OLED. If you are in a bright room, I don't know, you have a good argument. C5, you don't have the raised blacks. If you're watching bright content, you're not going to notice the raised blacks, right? So if you're watching sports, the sports on the S90F in, I'd say, standard or dynamic mode, sports will be brighter on the S90F because the raised blacks is not an issue. If you're watching darker scenes in a bright room, yes, you'll notice the raised black and the C5 is better. So the question is, if most of your content is news and sports, I'd go with the S90F. But if you have mixed content where you see a lot of dim scenes, whatever dramas, right, then the C5 will be less annoying because, no raised blacks, right? The 30% gaming, it's a wash. They're both great gaming TVs. I'm not going to dive into the weeds about the specifics, but gamers know what they want. So, and I personally think it's a wash for console gamers. It's fine. Yeah, I think the big deal is if you're watching mostly shows and sports, the S90F, I like that extra brightness for sports. But if everything else, dramas and stuff like that, the C5 probably has the advantage. The extra color luminance does nothing for you in terms of those shows. It's all the same. The C5 is more than capable of all of that. Then you have gaming. The gaming in the S90F HDR gaming will be better because of the extra color luminance. So I'd say 70% sports, I go with the S90F. Only because you're not going to notice the issues with the raised blacks. But again, you have to ask yourself, in the last 7 days, most of your movies, shows you're watching, a lot of dark scenes. If it is, you'll notice that raised black, or you may not. I notice it because I watch so many of these TVs, but some people don't. So I don't want to overplay that weakness. It's just very personal to some people. Okay, Sebastian, follow-up. In South Africa, the price of the C4 65-inch is $1749. C5 is $2100. Would you recommend me spending more to get a newer model, or do you think I must wait for the G6 rather than getting the G477? Get the G477 for that HDR impact. Okay, so if you watch sports, and this would apply to football, soccer as well, when you have a bright field, whether it's green or white, only the G4 or the G5 can sustain that brightness in vivid or standard mode at max brightness. Neither the C4 nor the C5 can do it. I know the C5 is slightly brighter in transient HDR, like briefly for a second it gets bright, but it's not going to be enough for sports. So C4, C5, it's a wash. Don't pay the extra money for the C5 for the extra brief brightness if sports sustained brightness is what you need. The G4 77-inch will be fine. The G6 might be even better at 77-inch, but how much is it going to be? So you're going to wait 2 years to get the same price that you're getting with the G4 77. So I think go with the G4 77. The G6 might be slightly brighter, but the G4 77 for sports is fine. What the G6 will do is address the issues of the G5 near black, but it's not going to be quote-unquote that much brighter because WOLED primary RGB is reaching the limits of how bright it can get anyway. So for brightness, sports, 77-inch G4, but between the C5 and the C4, I would take the C4 over the C5 because I don't think that HDR brief punch is going to be that impactful if you're watching mostly Netflix and streaming and stuff like that. Maybe in gaming, right? HDR gaming, brief highlights and explosions, sure. But other than that, normal streaming content, C4 is fine. And Getty, hey, thanks for the super chat, man. FOMO, are you going to review the Nakamichi Shockwafe? Best Buy price is $16.99. On sale. Love your input. This is why the Nakamichi is awesome. Multiple subwoofers. If this is the Shockwave model with what, 4 subwoofers at $16.99, okay, you're paying for the 4 subwoofers. Amazing. Now, if you're not a bass head and you don't need the extra subwoofer, then almost anything from Samsung right now for that price, for a little bit less. I think Samsung's going to have some amazing prices as well. Actually, let me see. I'll tell you what the AAA pricing is. I have it up. And currently, AAA pricing for their, where is this? 990D or 990F is $16.99. So get the Nakamichi Shockwave. So this is my opinion on these soundbar systems. They are all so good now. The subtle differences between any of them is very subtle. First, how many subwoofers are you getting? With the Samsung at the QNED990F, their flagship at $16.99, and that's their best price right now. I know it'll get cheaper, but it's only 1 subwoofer. If the Nakamichi Shockwave at $16.99 gets you 2 subwoofers, already that's a game changer. As far as surround immersion, they've already nailed it. All of them have. I'm not going to knock one down over the other because the immersion isn't there. You got 4 speakers, 2 in front, a center, and 2 surrounds. You're done. I'm currently reviewing a Valerian 4-speaker system with 1 sub, and I'm so impressed by that system. Like, wait a minute. We're there. I mean, and this is compared to my Sony 7000 ES driven system, not my Trinov here at the studio, but you know it's a basic in-wall system, right? 11 speakers, a giant SVS sub, 7000 ES Sony AVR, right? Just very straightforward, under 10 grand for the whole thing. I mean, expensive, but we wanted the speakers out of the way. Okay, guys, this little Valerian with the 4 stands, like what? This is like 95% of what I'm getting with the full Sony setup. And it just makes me shake my head like, what are we doing here? Like, why are people spending? I understand in-wall speakers. That's the only reason you should get separates, is they disappear, right? Because these, unfortunately, you got to have cables, right? You got to plug it on the ground, plug it on the wall. That's the biggest inconvenience. But if you can get over that, the value is immense. So I'm all for it. If Nakamichi Shockwave at $16.99 gets you more than one sub, you're done. That's it. Get it. And as far as sub setup, guys, if you guys don't know, if the extra subs, so you have two choices. When you have multiple subs, you could either go for maximum impact. Stack the subs, put it right behind you. You got near field, maximum impact stacked subs. That's one approach, right? If you want even sub, but not maximum impact, just even subwoofers, then you have to put the subs in the corners, wherever. You got to get your measuring thing out. I mean, it's a nightmare, by the way. Not a fan of that. So I recommend people, if your wife or significant other doesn't care, stack the subs right behind your butt, and everyone's going to enjoy this thump that you're going to get from multiple subwoofers, right? And you don't have to place it anywhere. Near field subs stacked is the way to go. So that's my solution for those that can place their sub anywhere. Just stick it within inches of your rear and you're gonna love it. Okay, so Mirage has a question here. FOMO, I ordered a 65-inch LG G5 to upgrade from my 48-inch LG C2. That's a huge upgrade. I'm gonna miss the TV, but looking so forward to that HDR impact. Yes, yes, yo man. I have the G5 65-inch right now. Now, Mirage, HDR impact very much is content dependent. I just have to tell you that. Don't expect impact from the latest movies. The creator did not intend impact. You're going to have to hand select those movies. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, right? A little bit of impact. Alpha. So if you don't like these movies, Jennifer Gallo for demo material. Sports for sure, that bright, vivid HDR. So HDR impact, movie specific, and there's literally less than 9. Now, if you don't care about creator's intent, then put it in Cinema Home. Then you have a little bit brighter for a bright room, and that should work. So a lot of people put in filmmaker mode and go, wait, this looks just like a C3. Yep, that's where we are. Okay. Oh, and thanks guys for showing up and asking your questions. Ask away. And again, the AAA pricing, if you guys just joined us, if you are a AAA member, in the USA, it's the American Automobile Association. If you're a member, automatically you will get Samsung's AAA pricing. I put the link below, and this is the pricing I have up here, right? S90F, 77-inch is $17.99. Outrageously good. That's a great price for that. My choice OLED TV deals right now is the B5 at 83-inch, $19.99. That's where I would start if this is your first OLED and you want immersion. Next up would be the S90F AAA pricing if you're a AAA member. Those pricings are going to be untouchable throughout the end of the year. And S95F. I personally like this TV a lot because I appreciate the anti-glare matte screen. But this is subjective. If you guys don't like the matte, I get it. And the One Connect box, I know, extra point of failure, but that matte and touch of brightness, I think, makes a difference for my content I watch, which is a lot of sports and in a semi-bright room. For me, I think the matte makes a difference, but no big deal. S90F is so close. Save the money. Get the S90F. And Bebop Jazz, question. For best value, gaming, motion and processing and accuracy, what's the best bet? A95L, S90F, G5, Z95B. So in the 77-inch department, gaming, I would remove the Sony A95L. Their focus is cinema, motion processing, and accuracy. Gaming, you don't have a lot of tweaking there. I mean, it's fine for console if you're not a serious console gamer. Is there such a thing as a serious console gamer? But if you really want your console to be, like, you have the options, you get the brightness options, the S90F or the G5 will get you there. The Z95B is kind of like the brighter version of the A95L, right? It uses primary RGB. It's more impactful. It's not quite as accurate as the A95L and the SDR, but it is kind of like the cinema version of the G5. But I see gaming, and I'm going to limit you to the G5 or the S90F. So you have to choose, do you like Tizen or WebOS? I would save the money and get the S90F because I don't think the G5 justifies the premium. I mean, if you need sports, sustained brightness, but I don't see you mentioning that, and processing and accuracy, all of these TVs are there. I mean, the subtle differences are so subtle. I think we're at a point where, you know, Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, in their respective filmmaker professional modes, they all look great. But the S90F, as a value and performer, it's my editor choice OLED for a reason. I'd go with the S90F 77-inch, and with the money saved, get an extended warranty, and then boom, you got gaming, you got motion and processing. It's just, you have to get the settings right. Everything is about settings, right? And your personal preference, soap opera, not soap opera, but they can all be set to something that you will like. Okay. Oh yeah, and thank you for that, Matt. It's not just AAA. So yes, so this Samsung pricing, if you are student, edu, .edu, military, and AAA, and emergency responders, and certain government agencies, and certain corporate partners with Samsung, can all get these discounts. It's just, I'm AAA, but absolutely right, Matt. I should have mentioned that. So .edu, if you have .edu, you validate .edu with Samsung, boom, you get this pricing. So a lot of teachers that watch my channel, hello teachers and students, you can get this pricing. Or if you have a student in the family, right? Hey, you know what? Let's see if we can get the pricing through your student. Military, veterans, emergency responders, right? So Samsung, if you click on Samsung's website, it's under, what is it under? It's called, I forget what it's called. They call it deals, member deals, something like that, member store. They have a list of all the subset of groups that will get these special deals. You just have to be able to log in to your organization and then validate it with Samsung. Yes, thank you, Matt, for that reminder. It's great. I mean, this suddenly makes Samsung a value. I wish Sony would do that. All right. Can you comment, FOMO, on the onboard streaming service versus Apple TV or Roku Ultra? So what Mage K60 Flat 99 is asking is the internal streaming app of the TV, right? So you buy the TV has Roku, no, it doesn't have Roku. The TV has Disney, Netflix, HBO Max, whatever, on the TV itself versus an external streamer like Apple TV, Roku Stick, Fire Stick, Chromecast, all of that. Generally speaking, it depends on the TV brand. Some brands do a better job keeping their apps updated than other brands. So if you have a TV that's Google TV, because it's Google TV, it'll be updated via the Google TV app. So that's not bad, right? Then you have Tizen has to update it. WebOS has to update it. Or if you have a Roku TV, they'll have to update it. The question is, what's the image quality difference? So consistently, it appears that Apple TV has the highest bandwidth for their apps. So if you have an Apple TV Netflix versus Netflix on a Sony or a Samsung, the Apple TV version appears to have higher bandwidth. Now, does that mean the image quality is noticeably better? The answer is, I can't tell the difference. So what I can tell you is this. On the Apple TV or the Chromecast or some of these streamers, like Roku, you can disable Dolby Vision or HDR and watch the SDR version. And I've recommended this for certain shows like Game of Thrones. When certain scenes are too dark and HDR doesn't help matters, you can get the SDR version by disabling HDR and just doing SDR. And that version looks more palatable. You could see more of the shadow detail versus the HDR version. You cannot do that on your internal app. You are stuck with whatever that app is. And sometimes, let's say you're on Google TV, like a Sony, right? Sony Google TV, it's always either Dolby Vision mode, if it's a Netflix show that's Dolby Vision capable, or calibrated, Netflix calibrated, which looks nearly identical as far as I'm concerned. But you can't get out of that. You're stuck with either Dolby Vision Bright, Dolby Vision Dark, Dolby Vision Custom, or Netflix calibrated. But if you don't want the Dolby Vision version and you don't want HDR and you prefer the SDR version, that is not available to you on the internal app of the TV. The external streamer, you can disable HDR and just watch SDR. Now, how important is that? Depends on you, right? It's important to me as a reviewer because I watch so much content and sometimes I'm like, oh man, this Game of Thrones is terribly dark. Only SDR gets everything to brighten up because HDR, it's just how the creator intended it. And it's just a nightmare. So I prefer an external streamer for that option, but it's not essential. But as far as apples to apples, HDR streamer versus HDR internal, they're so close. I don't think that should determine whether or not you get an external streamer unless you actively are using that SDR, HDR toggling on and off. Hopefully that helps. And here's a great question. Will OLED TVs have Dolby Vision 2 or HDR10 Plus Advanced next year? Samsung, it appears so. I've spoken to Samsung. They won't have Dolby Vision 2, but they've assured me that some models will have HDR10 Plus Advanced in 2026. What I don't know is whether they can update 2025 to have HDR10 Plus Advanced or not. And more importantly to you all, how well is it going to work? So it may be a moot point if it doesn't work well. As far as Dolby Vision 2, LG has said we're looking into it, which means no, it's not happening in 2026. Sony has not committed to 2026 having Dolby Vision 2, so let's assume it's a no for now. That leaves nobody else. No other OLED TV maker has made any announcement or mentioned anything, and only Hisense mini LED flagships have been confirmed to support Dolby Vision 2. But remember, that's just the TV. The actual content has to support it. Netflix has made no mention of either, nor Disney Plus, nor Apple TV, but Prime has said we will support HDR10 Plus Advanced, but then Prime Video, like when is it coming? It could be in 5 years. Just because they say they'll support it doesn't mean when they'll support it. We'll get more details at CES. So DJ Randy, get back to me at CES. We'll have a lot more details then. And it's only, what, 2 months away? The first week of January, yeah. My favorite question, Asaf. FOMO, which 4K Blu-ray player do you recommend? The Panasonic UB820. It is the player I've been using since the beginning of my channel. It's rock solid. It does both 10 plus Dolby Vision. It automatically recognizes Dolby Vision and will adjust accordingly. If you don't mind manually toggling Dolby Vision on and off depending on the content, then I highly recommend the Sony X700. Works just as well. You just have to manually enable Dolby Vision when you're putting in a Dolby Vision capable disc. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, then the Panasonic automatically recognizes Dolby Vision, and the UB820 is like $499. It's a great player. I've gone through 4 of them already because a lot of pause and stop. And then eventually I say, you know what? This is my last UB820. I moved on to Kaleidoscape so I could do that to my heart's content and not just destroy the drive. I got like 3 of them in the garage I need to sell on eBay as non-functioning parts, right? But yeah, UB820 Panasonic for sure. Can anyone with the S90F comment on motion upscaling? Is it really behind the bigger flagship brands? So let's just stop right here. Where is this coming from? It's all about your settings. So when people say the upscaling aren't up to par, like, where are you getting this? Everything looks crappy at 480p. I don't care who's doing it, right? Sony, Samsung, LG. If you're taking an old DVD, it's not going to look great. right? There's only so much you could do with it. Same with cable. There's only so much you could do with it, especially if you're upscaling to 85 inches or 70 inches, 77 inches or whatever, right? So upscaling DVD, everyone's going to struggle. 1080p, they all do a great job. I have a hard time distinguishing between 1080p and 4K more often than not. They all do fine. So I think the upscaling is resolved. What you may be talking about, Bebop Jazz, is low bit rate. So if you watch YouTube TV, right, you got 1080p, but it's like low bit rate or 720p, but your bandwidth is suffering with a YouTube TV connection. I have found not much difference between Samsung, LG, and Sony when I use the internal app, YouTube TV. So at the end of the day, I'm having a problem saying definitely the Sony is better. I mean, if anything, when you watch Vincent's review, the S90F had the best upscaling, right? It uses a similar processor as the S90F. So this whole argument that Sony does better low bit rate processing, apparently it's too close to call at this point, and S90F was the winner at Vincent's shootout. So S90F motion, it's all about the settings. Now with the Sony, out of the box, its motion is great. If you don't like soap opera, if you don't like stutter, you still have to move Sony's Cinemotion to 1. And then it's perfect for me, right? Sony, 1, I'm good to go. On the Samsung, you have to move it to 3. It gets rid of the stutter, doesn't introduce too much soap opera. I'm fine. But people don't change the motion. Like, oh, it sucks. You have to change the setting to taste. On Samsung, anti-judder at 3, I think is really close to what the Sony does, and same with the LG. So motion settings being what they are, when you choose the right setting, you're fine. It's just with Sony, it's out of the box so close to what people like. They don't have to touch anything. Like I said, Sony's all plug and play, right? Everyone else, you got to play with the settings just a touch. But ultimately, they can all match when it comes to motion. So the S90F is fine, and it's my editor's choice TV for a reason. I don't see any issues with upscaling, low bit rate, or low resolution DVD. It looks just as good as on the G5 or anyone else. That's why we no longer test it. For the last 2 years now, I don't test upscaling lower resolution. Like, they all look good. What's the deal? And low bitrate content looks bad. Like low bit rate is low bit rate. It all looks bad. It all looks jaggy. It's going to have the fuzzies and macro blocking. You can't fix what you can't fix because there's just not enough information in low bit rate streaming. So I don't think it's an issue. The S90F, get it if you're okay with Tizen. And if you get an 83-inch, just know that it's WOLED. At that point, you might as well go with a cheaper C5, unless you're a AAA student, military, right, and you get a special deal. Oh, here's a great question. Andrew asks, for a 98-inch TV, Bravia 5 or QM8K? So, what is your priority? Plug and play, you just skin tones, natural, you don't want to touch any settings, Bravia 5. But you want a little bit brighter, more HDR impact, QM8K. QM8K is so bright. So if you're in a bright room, you want the extra HDR impact or you need the extra brightness in a bright room for sports, QM8K. But the Bravia 5 for skin tones and shadow detail, it's just out of the box. It's tuned, ready to go. So it just depends on your preference. Most people who are not TV enthusiasts will take the Sony all day long. The people who are enthusiasts and notice HDR impact and has the content and knows a little bit about settings will choose the QM8K. Gaming, I would also choose the QM8K. It's just better thought through in terms of gaming settings and the motion and the gaming features. QM8K is better. So and that includes PS5 Pro, ironically, right? So PS5, Xbox Series X, console gaming, QM8K, PC gaming, QM8K is better. But the Bravia 5 is really for content watching, plug and play, streaming, news, sports, HDR. You don't care. You just want it to look good, Bravia 5. Hopefully that answers your question. And we got a super chat from Matt Lee 8022. Oh my gosh, it's already 1:37. Hey guys, Click like if you are enjoying this live stream. Ask your questions. I'm here for you. And we're going to have a live Black Friday morning, Friday, literally on Black Friday in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. I will do live deals because, as you know, on Black Friday, suddenly you have doorbusters, you have specials that no one thought of, but it's for a limited time only. It's literally for those 12 to 24 hours that happens on Black Friday. So if you guys aren't doing anything that Friday, just digesting last night's turkey, I'll be on live in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to do a live stream Black Friday for you guys. We'll have fun. All right, Matt, super chat. Thank you. I have an LG Z3. Ooh, 88, what is it? That's a 8K OLED. I'm wondering if I'm missing out on the G5. Yes, you are. But okay, so let's just talk about, we have a few things happening here. Matt, you have an 8K TV. As you can see, the 8K does nothing for you, right? All your content's 4K. This whole upscaling to 8K literally does nothing other than adds additional processing. Number two, the brightness of the Z3 is no better than the brightness of a C4, right? So the contrast or brightness, it's all there. It's the same. What you're missing out on compared to the G5 of the same size is the HDR impact. The G5, in the bright scenes that demand it, let's say Mad Max, let's say Alpha. I keep using the same 2 or 3 movies. You're going to get that impact. Sports, bright sports in a bright room, sustained brightness in sports or standard mode. Z3 does not have any of that. And more importantly, you might be able to go larger than the Z3. So I don't know what size you have, but let's say if your Z3 is 77 inch, you can go with a G5 83 inch. I think that's the biggest improvement because most content, if it's creator's intent, they're going to look the same. You don't need that extra headroom with the G5. So I would say the G5 for the extra size availability. I know the Z3 came in an 83 inch, so if you have that size, that really comes down to that HDR impact. But if you watch mostly old TV shows, Netflix, you know, Top Chef, Iron Chef, whatever, unless you're like watching them in vivid mode, it's going to be the same. So you're not really missing out if you're watching just standard TV shows and not really pushing that HDR impact. All right. And oh, thank you, Sebastian. You're still around. You have another super chat. Thank you, my friend. What is a good Ultra HD LG TV that can be between 65 and 86 inches? Living room with lights, G5 65 inch is $29.16. G4 77 inch, $4,000. Ooh, you're paying an extra $1,000 for the size. The size is always going to be better. 65 and 86 inches. So I'd go with the largest TV. Even in a bright room, your 85, 86 inch Mini LED will be slightly brighter than your OLED if you need the extra brightness, but I do like the 77 inch. Would you consider an 83 inch LG B5? I would go with that. Is LG B5 consideration for you? 83 inch. 83 inch LG B5. If you don't need that extra brightness for sports, because that would be my preference for you. Now, the 65 inches is pretty bright, but that's quite a premium for only 65 inches. I think I like Immersion. I'm a big fan of Immersion. So if you're watching mostly TV shows, but the bright room, you're going to be watching a Cinema Home. Cinema Home on the 77 inch G4 will be pretty good, actually. So if you have the budget, 77 inch G4. That's what I go with. Because the QNED 86 inch, I'm just not a fan. I think there's too many issues. And they don't treat it like their flagship. The G4 is truly a flagship. So I go with 77 inch G4 or the 83 inch B5, depending on how bright you need the TV. Right. And Ensicon, all right. I know you got a question somewhere. Here it is. Here's your question. There we go. Found it. Hey, FOMO, I'm between the 85 inch Bravia 9, $3,800, and the 98 inch Bravia 5 at $38. The TCL 98 inch QM8K is $3,000. Which is a better deal and blend of picture and cost? So clearly, the QM8K 98 inch at $3,000 is the best value. Dollar for dollar, that's a great deal. If you're willing to do two things. One, tweak the settings depending on what scenes you're in. It does have gamma black crushing issues. You got to make sure you have the gamma set correctly. 2.0, 2.2, right? You might have to play with that. But it is brighter. It is the brighter TV. It has really solid contrast, and it's better for gaming. But skin tones will be off. My QM8K next to my Bravia 9, you can see the colors on skins are not as natural as on the Bravia 9. When compared to the reference, Bravia 5 will be similar to the Bravia 9 in that respect. Skin tones will look great. So if skin tones are important to you, that's what you're paying for with the Bravia 5, is that extra $800 goes to the natural skin tone, as well as the gamma is going to be correct. But brightness, impact, just everything that has to do with the spec sheet, the QM8K is definitely the better deal. So, and if you're gaming, get the QM8K. I was really impressed by the 85-inch QM8K, so that TV definitely impresses me. But it depends on who's watching and what you're watching, right? If you're watching reality shows, news, the Bravia 5 is going to make all of that look great. And the QM8K, all that brightness will be wasted. You're not going to need the extra brightness. If you are going to game, some console gaming, the QM8K will have extra oomph in the HDR gaming department that the Bravia 5 will just, it'll game okay. But I think the QM8K is going to have that extra pop in HDR gaming that some people would appreciate. But the better deal, obviously, QM8K for $3,000. However, the uniformity on the Bravia 5, more often than not, should be a little bit better. So, you have these little things that Sony does slightly better. That's not on paper. And Merv, question, 77-inch C5 or 75-inch C8K? Netflix, Amazon, Disney, HBO movies, and for the gaming, which is good. Well, the C5 gaming, untouchable compared to any mini LED. So how much do you game? If you game 15% of the time, I mean, first of all, it's a bigger TV, because if you're going to pay the 77-inch C5, why not get an 85-inch C8K, right? Go for the extra size. Otherwise, get the 77-inch C5, because the C8K will be slightly brighter for sports, but you're not mentioning sports. It's just Netflix, Amazon, Disney, HBO movie. So in a light controlled room, in professional or in filmmaker mode on both TVs, they will look very similar, but the C5 will have better contrast. But if you're in a brighter room and you go to a brighter mode, cinema home on the C5 or standard mode on the C8K with similar color settings, the 8K will be brighter for a brighter room. Even if you're in cinema home on the C5, it's just mini LED gets brighter. But then do you need that brightness? Light controlled room, the C5, hands down. But some people complain that in a bright room, you don't have that extra full screen brightness that's capable on a C8K TCL. So tell me, oh, semi-dark, C5, I see it now. 5 to 6 hours using TV in the day, but semi-dark, get the 77-inch C5. Yeah, that does it. You don't need the extra brightness. Okay, let's see. Hey, FOMO, I can't decide between the LG B5 83-inch or the Hisense U7. Netflix, Apple Sports, and the occasional gaming, I assume that's what you meant. And LG B5 83 is definitely not as bright as the U7. In a light-controlled room, the 83-inch B5 all day long. But if you're in a very bright room and you watch a lot of sports, the U7. That thing is the brightest TV I've seen this year, other than the Bravia 9. But Hisense U7 for bright sports, bright room. But if you have light controlled room, LG B5 83-inch. Unless you're getting the 100-inch U7 5QG. And what country are you from? Because in the US, the U7 5QG is an excellent TV. Outside of the US, it's called the U7Q. Not as good. So let me know if you're in the US. Yeah, U7 5 looks great, but if you're not, Hey FOMO, what's the best Sony Mini LED 77-inch TV under 2000? I assume you mean a 75-inch, because Mini LED do not come in a 77. So let's look here. Under 2000, right? So that would be, I would go with the Bravia 5 Mini LED. I know the Bravia 7's out there, but I'd save the money, get $13.99, and then the money saved, get a good soundbar, because I don't think the premium for the Bravia 7's worth it. Get the Bravia 5 at 75-inch, or even the X90L at $11.99. And this is why. If your content is normal TV streaming, movies, Netflix, whatever, X90L actually looks better than you realize for that price at $11.99. Then with all that extra money you have, get yourself a nice soundbar system. Then you'll be okay, like $1,000 soundbar or something. So get that all bundled up. Reach out to Robert at Value Electronics and see if he can bundle you a soundbar with that 75-inch X90L. Then you'll get a full system. Okay, and oh, Sebastian, they only have a 65-inch B series. Okay, then yeah, I can see why. I'm sorry, yeah. So then go with my other suggestions. Yes, Don, I agree. Then you have the 85-inch at $16.99. I absolutely agree with that. Or the 85-inch X90L for $13.99, right? Yeah, go larger. Definitely. Why didn't I think of that, Don? You're reading my mind. That is so good. Good suggestion. Go larger. I agree. If you can stay under 2,000 and go larger, definitely go larger. FOMO, 77-inch S90F W OLED or 77-inch C5 for movie night. 77-inch S90F. Wait, W OLED. Isn't the 77-inch S90F QD OLED? If it's QD OLED, go with a 77-inch S90F. If it's only W OLED, I'd go with a 77-inch C5. I just feel that LG does W OLED better than Samsung because of its experience with W OLED. So if it's not QD OLED where you're from, get the C5. That's just too bad. It's not QD OLED where you're from. Okay, here we have a very technical question. My 65-inch LG C7 has much better picture quality than my 77-inch LG C4 on YouTube TV on an NVIDIA Shield Pro. Is the C7 better at upscaling 1080p and 720? Would the 75-inch TCL QNED be better for sports than LG? Okay, so I don't know what's up. The C7 is a pretty old TV, right? And it's doing better than last year's C4. That's quite a surprise, but hey, if it does better, it does better. You found an edge case where the C series dropped the ball, the C4 dropped the ball. But to your question about the 75-inch TCL QM8K, it's only better for sports because you need it brighter. It doesn't mean image processing is better per se. So, sports in a bright room for hockey or any sport where you have big grass and or even basketball, right? Full screen, sustained brightness. The C series OLED cannot sustain the brightness unless you go up to a G4 or a G5, then it sustains brightness a little bit better. I would do that over a QM8K, but you're paying a huge premium. So 75-inch QM8K is a better value for sports than an equivalent LG at 77 inches, which would be the G4 and the G5. So QM8K, I'd go with that one. Because sports, it's not, the slightly better contrast than the LG is lost in sports. What you want is brightness and enough legibility to read the scores and everything, and the QM8K does that. So I think QM8K, sports, brightness, bright room, I'd go with that. If you're in a light-controlled room, then the LG OLED C or B series would work just as well. And you get that infinite contrast. But yeah, in a bright room, I'd go with Mini LED. Okay, here's a good one. Why is the C4 the same or more expensive than the same size C5 at Costco, other than no DTS in the C5? I'll tell you why. Costco's cost of acquiring the C4 was higher than its cost for acquiring the C5, and it wants to preserve its margins on the C4, so it's passing the premium on to you. Get the C5. The C4 is technically not the better TV. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens with other models as well. You, as a retailer, you buy this model at a certain price. The following year, its successor ends up being cheaper. And you're like, wait a minute. So the older TV is more expensive because you acquired a higher price. That's what it is. And they don't want to have a loss on that TV, but eventually people will not buy it and you're going to have to write it off anyway. So it will drop eventually. But yeah, don't get the C4 if it's a higher price. Get the C5. All right. Boy, you got a lot of good questions here. And QMAK, does it not handle lower quality media? It does. It does. How low quality? Are we talking 240p? No one does that well. A DVD player, there's so many ways, quote unquote. Lower quality media could be a lower resolution media, like a 480p, 240p, whatever. Or lower quality media could be low bitrate streaming, where you have rough internet connection. And the QMAK does all of that fine. Now, I think Samsung may do low bitrate better, meaning if you have even internet issues, it might look better on the S95F or the S90F. But you know, if you have good internet connection, I think that's fine. But as far as upscaling, lower resolution media, all the TVs are fine. All right. Hi FOMO, I'm looking to upgrade from a Sony A8H to a 77-inch Sony OLED. Do I wait for the 2026 or pick up the Sony A95L? Pick up the Sony A95L because I don't expect 2026 OLED to be that much better than the A95L. I think we've reached peak OLED, and many calibrators will tell you this right now. Content is not getting brighter. Dolby Vision 2 is not coming out to any TVs other than Hisense next year. So with all that in mind, save money and get the 77-inch A95L. Well, save money in air quotes. The A95L is still expensive, but you're getting an amazing TV. This is the king of TVs 2 years in a row for a reason. It's a great TV. I've had the TV for a year, loved it. It's solid. It will do everything you need, right? It is a great cinema, streaming, movie TV, especially in a light control room. It's all the TV you need. So don't wait for 2026. Pick up a good deal on a Sony A95L. I'm between the C5 and the S90F. Which is more reasonable? S90F is more reasonable. You get up to 77 inches. You get QD OLED, 55, 65, 77 inch in the US. You get QD OLED, and you get a better pricing. If you are a student, AAA member, EDU, military, first responder, look at that, S90F, 77 inches, $17.99 with that pricing, whereas the C5 is $200 more, but definitely not $200 better. The S90F QD OLED is better in many ways, unless you don't like Tizen, then get WebOS. Why is the 98-inch Sony X90L more than the Bravia 5 same size? I don't know, other than it cost more to manufacture 2 years ago, and Bravia 5, they sourced it at a lower price, and now it's cheaper. It is not the better TV. So get the Bravia 5 98-inch. That's where I would go, for sure. All right, and let's see here. Oh, but Don says, on Amazon, the 98-inch Sony X90L is $100 less than the Bravia 5. So definitely retailer's discretion. And of course, if you're interested in any of these TVs and are considering getting it calibrated in the store before shipment, give Value Electronics a call. Robert Zone will make sure to take care of that for you. Okay. This is something we'd like to address. I've also recently been looking at the Bravia 8. So this is a WOLED from last year, 77-inch, but I just keep reading about it having all kinds of problems. Now, I don't know about the problems. Now, I'm not a Bravia 8 owner, but yeah, share with us, Maddie, Daddy, what these problems you read about. I would get, if I get a Sony, my preference is get QD OLED. Okay, here's a good question. Hey, FOMO. Hi, Jonathan. Jonathan Howarth. I know you're a size warrior, but my father never buys TVs. He's getting one now. Oh, that's what I love. TCL QM7K 98-inch, TCL QM6K 98-inch at Costco, S90F 77. He watches at 11 to 12 feet, no windows, sports news mostly, some movie. Get the Costco TV, 98-inch, no windows, so you don't have to worry about the matte anti-glare. So it's semi-gloss, looks great at 98-inch. The size immersion, he'll be like, oh my God, it's huge. The 77-inch OLED is going to look good because it's an OLED, but 98-inch will blow his mind, especially if he never buys a TV. And of course, with Costco, you get the whole warranty package. Get the 98-inch Costco TV, throw in whatever warranty they have available. Just buy it up so that you don't have to worry about your dad. Oh, TCL's not working. What's happening here? This is perfect for your dad, especially he's coming from an older TV. He doesn't need the extra brightness from the QM7K or the QM8K. Save some money. Get the QM6K at Costco. Get extended warranty, and your dad's going to love it. Let me know what your dad says. That's great. Great option. All right. Hey, my thoughts on what, Donkey? Let's see, J. Kyrie 4. Ah, here we go. I see the question. 77-inch S90F or 77-inch A95L? Personally, I would go with the 77-inch S90F. As much as I love the A95L, I like the S90F more. I just feel like Samsung unleashes its brightness a little bit better, and I don't mind going in there and playing a little bit with some of the settings to get it right in terms of motion. Filmmaker mode is fine. A95L professional mode expert is fine. They look similar enough. I just like how Samsung does QD OLED more aggressively, meaning they're unleashing it in sports mode. I watch a lot of sports, and I think the sports setting in terms of standard or sports full brightness is a touch brighter than the A95L. I prefer that. And then gaming, I like the gaming settings on Tizen better than Sony's Google TV. So for my use, I'd go with the S90F. Now, if all you do, plug and play, streaming, movies, whatever, A95L is perfect, but that extra premium, S90F is so close in filmmaker mode to the A95L. This is a case where I'm like, I don't know. I get Sony's cost premium, but I'd still go with the S90F. I mean, that's just me. I know Sony will call me and say, what? How can you say that? I just think for value and the image quality and all of that, the S90F is slightly ahead. I mean, look at here. Let's see, the A95L. See, the S90F at 77 is like $19.99 or $17.99, and the A95L, $37.99. Definitely not worth the premium if this price holds. Yeah, no, you got to go with the S90F. It's not even close. What are the Hisense Black Friday deals? So where are they? They're holding back until closer to Black Friday. So we'll do a Hisense TCL as we get closer to Black Friday. Unlike LG and Samsung and even Sony, they're kind of releasing it early. Hisense and TCL are kind of holding back right now. So we're going to see some doorbusters in a week. But as soon as those deals pop up, we will definitely share it with you. And I got another question. Peter in the UK. All right. So thanks for this great session, FOMO. You're welcome, Peter. I'm in the UK looking at LG's 83-inch B5 OLED or the non-OLED 100-inch. What would be the best 100-inch TCL Hisense film, sports, some game modes in a light-controlled room? QM7K 98-inch TCL. Some gaming, console gaming, I assume. I feel TCL does gaming better than Hisense this year. QM7K, rock solid for gaming, and its 98-inch TV is great. I go with that because the immersion over the 83-inch B5 is just that much better. $19.99 in the US. I don't know what the price premium is for OLED there. Now, if you didn't have the 100-inch option, I'd go with the 83-inch, but the extra, man, that's huge. That's a huge jump going to 98 inches. So, given the choices, 98-inch TCL QM7K or C7K in the UK. Let me know, Peter, what you choose and whether that immersion was where you go. FOMO, C75, 77-inch C5, 77-inch Z8B, or the Bravia 877. I would go with the 77-inch C5. So the 77-inch Z8B, it is last year's WOLED premium model from Panasonic with updated software, great audio, but the C5 is the latest panel from LG for this year. If you need better audio, go with the Z8B. If you have a soundbar or your audio on the C5 is fine, go with the C5. The Bravia 877, I know skin tones and all of that. I just like the I like the newer TVs because the processors always have more headroom for firmware updates, and LG does a good job with their firmware updates. Bravia 8 is fine, but I'd go with the 77-inch C5 personally. I think there's just more there. Oh, okay, look at this question. Isaac, hey FOMO, I want to buy my first iLED. Not OLED, iLED. I assume you mean OLED. Sony A95K 65-inch is $1,600. I still have that TV, by the way. It's in my bedroom. Worth buying in 2025. Only hits 900 nits. I have a Sharp 65-inch from 2015 before HDR was born. It's correctly used. Only process Ultra HD instead of HDR10. Okay, let me tell you right now, I am not missing out at all when I watch my Sony A95K. It looks phenomenal because this is a bedroom TV. This is a TV I watch everything in. Netflix and Disney, whatever, video, YouTube. It's solid. It looks amazing. I love the design. The favorite thing to me about the A95K, it looks like an amazing TV. They do not make TVs like this anymore. When the A95K was released as a Master Series, it was the last officially designated Master Series. It looks like a Master Series, right? That stand looks great. I know a lot of people hate it, but you know what? It's a work of art. I place it below eye level, so it can lean back a little bit. It has that slight leaning. I mean, you either like it or you don't. I love it. I think it looks great flushed to the table. So keep that in mind. I think it's a great TV. And for what you're upgrading from, the Sharp, this is going to destroy that Sharp. I mean, you're like, whoa, this is, oh, that looks great. Now, if you need HDR impact, like you want to go for all the best HDR movies, all 5 or 6 of them, A95K isn't going to do that. But everything else, it looks exactly the same as the A95L or the Bravia 8 Mark II. And that's why I still have it. Wife will not let me move that TV out. I say, hey, you want me to bring in the S90F? Nope. S95F? Nope. I got the Bravia 8 Mark II right here. Nope. She loves the A95K because it looks so good in our bedroom, the way it's on the pedestal. So, and it looks good, right? She loves the TV, doesn't want me to touch it. She'll kill me if I replace it because it looks good. Everything looks natural. It won King of TVs that year. Yes, sports in a bright room may not get as bright, but other than that, it's a great TV. It's a great choice. Go for it. I think Lisa has it still, and Lisa loves it. Okay, let me check Super Chats before we're going to check out soon. So if you have any questions, keep on throwing it out there. Jessia8772, thank you for your generosity. Hey FOMO, which would you say is a better TV? The TCL 75-inch QM6K or the Hisense 75 U65QF, the 75 QM6K? To me, this is a value leader in performance, image quality, size for the price. This is it. TCL nailed it with the QM6K. This is the TV I would recommend anyone who's upgrading for their parents on a budget and they want to get size. And if the QM6K is the size upgrade you need, get it. don't look back. The Hisense U75QG, I love it for its extra brightness, extra punch, slightly better skin tones, but the QM6K is the better value. And it looks better than I think, the U65QF, although that's an okay value. Samsung nailed it with the QM6K. They really did. Okay, and Jim's Mopar. Hi FOMO, 77-inch C5 or 77-inch S90F for movies, Netflix, and some sports, like Control Room. 77-inch S90F, no doubt about it. Slightly brighter sports. I think it's color luminance and everything. Now, if you want Dolby Vision, I don't know why you would, but if you want Dolby Vision, then the C5 does it. S90F does not. I don't think it's important at all. I prefer Tizen, so that's another reason why I like S90F. But if the operating system is not important to you, either one is fine. I go with a cheaper TV. But in this case, the S90F is both the superior TV because QD OLED and the cheaper TV. So, and the light controlled room makes it all the better because then QD OLED does not have the raised black issues that some complain of. So yes, S90F all the way. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up in a minute. So throw out your questions now, friends. We'll do a fast last 5 minutes of questions. We'll have more live streams, but this is kind of like my first hit at Black Friday prices. Yes, A95K is amazing, Lisa. I know you would come out. Use it from my main TV in the den. It's a great TV. It's a great TV. A little bit expensive at the time it was released, but it's a great TV. They don't make TVs like that anymore. Classic. Okay. FOMO, would you recommend getting a 75-inch U75QG for the same price as a 75 QM6K, or wait till Black Friday for a better deal on the QM6K? Wait until Black Friday, unless you need the U75QG for super bright sports, HDR impact. That U75 is one of the brightest TVs I've seen this year. It's brighter than the QM7. It's as bright as the QM8K and the Bravia 9. I mean, you're getting so much pixel brightness quality for the dollar here. However, the QM6K should be cheaper. They should not be the same price. So if you're willing to wait, the QM6K, not as bright, but if you don't need that brightness, QM6K Black Friday deal should be better. And if it comes and the prices don't drop, well, get the 75-inch U75QG because I believe it has slightly better, more accurate skin tones. Okay, QM6K or Panny Mini LED. So not many people know. The Panny Mini LED is like a rebadged TCL, but an older model TCL. So depends on which Panny. The Panny will have better color tuning, always. But its blooming control will not be as good as TCL's latest. But it would be the TCL QM7K I would choose over the Panny Mini LED. Otherwise, I might choose the Panny Mini LED over the QM6K. Just because of the skin tones on the Panny, it's just more solid. But then again, Fire TV might be annoying for some of you. Thank you for the super chat, Lalo Keua. Are you from Hawaii? Sounds very Hawaiian. Hey FOMO, upgrading from a Sony X85K. Can't decide between the Bravia 5 or the LG C4. For movies in a moderately lit room. Open to other alternatives. So the C4 is OLED. I'd say go for the largest TV you can. So in this case, if you're used to Sony image quality, get the Bravia 5. Only because the X85K is a pretty good TV. It was Sony's affordable entry-level LCD TV. And I think I reviewed the X85J, if I'm not mistaken. It really impressed me with its skin tones. So if you're used to Sony skin tones, stick with Sony. And the Bravia 5, you should be able to get a larger size than the C4, which is a premium OLED pricing. So get the largest Bravia 5 and you should be good. Or the X90L. So let me pull up the Sony really quick here. I'd say get the 75-inch X90L. That will get you size and a great premium price. Unless you go larger, then you can go with 85-inch Bravia 5. But I think for you, because you're used to Sony and you were coming from a Sony LCD TV, you're going to a better Sony LCD TV, err on the side of size and color science of the Sony. Okay. Okay. And FOMO, I have the Samsung S90D 48-inch WOLED. Well, I see a big difference on PS5 with the S95F 55-inch. The biggest difference you will see is two things. One, larger size, that always. Number two, depending on the game, QD OLED will give you more color luminance in the brighter scenes. So you'll get more color in the bright HDR gaming on the PS5. And I'm trying to see what else here. S95, anti-glare matte screen. So if you have any glare behind you, gone. Now, in a bright room, you might have lifted blacks. So try to get light control in there. In a light control room, the S95F HDR on the PS5, I don't want to say it's a big difference because it definitely depends on the game. But on games where the color luminance is like, boom, you have these explosions or whatever, the S95F will give you more color saturation. But if anything, it's really the size upgrade that is the big difference. So you might as well get the S90F 55-inch. Because you have light controlled, go with the S90F 55 over the S95. I think that's the better deal. Didn't see the AAA discount. I have it. Okay, so I just checked it this morning, and let me tell you how to get it. You have to make sure you use the same email that you sign up in your AAA. So whatever email that is on your AAA, that has to be the same email you use to log into the Samsung account, and then you have to validate it through this link. Let me pull up the link real quick for you so that you have it. Click on this link that I'm pasting right now. There you go. So that link, when you click on that, so you have to log into AAA first, log into Samsung, same email, then click on this link, and then go to the, let's say, for example, go to this site right here, and then click on this link, and everywhere on this link, you should have your Samsung AAA discount, right? So remember, log into your AAA, click on the link, discounts AAA that I have right there to validate, then click on the product link below that, and boom. Okay, any Sony coupons. So the Sony coupons, call Robert Value Electronics. He has the most up-to-date Sony bundles and deals that I cannot even begin to keep track of. Right now, their biggest deal is if you're getting a AVR, they'll have a bundle there for you. But Robert is the man when it comes to Sony deals. So this is the current bundle deal at Value Electronics. But give him a call because he'll give you the best deal available. And you can talk to him on the phone and ask him all the questions you want. Okay. CDB 1957. Thank you for the super chat. TCL QM8K versus Hisense U8QG. Both 85-inch. Large screen, door room, and sometimes I sit to the right and left of the TV. What are your thoughts? I'd go with the TCL QM8K. I think this year's Hisense U8Q underperforms the U7V. I would choose the U7V over the U8. Now, the Hisense U7V has better audio system, TV audio. If you don't have a sound bar and you're going to rely on the TV, the Hisense U7V and U8 have a better audio, like we're talking noticeably better. Not just louder, it's just the clarity, the bass. I just feel like it's a step above all the TVs and a match for the Bravia 9. The QM8K is bright, very bright, and it's better than the U8. But then between the QM8K and the U7V-QG, the U7V-QG is a better value. The QM8K is a better gaming TV. So if you don't game, I'd say get the U7V-QG rather than U8, because large screen doors, sometimes to the right and the left, or your thoughts, 75 inch or 85 inch. Yeah, I'd go with the U75 85 inch rather than the U8 and rather than the QM8K. I think the skin tones are better. If you game, I'd go with the QM8K. If you don't game, then U85. Let me know what you do. Okay, we'll take one more question, and you're welcome. Hopefully that got you into the AAA pricing. And again, it's not just for AAA. I know I put AAA here. It's for, this pricing applies where I put AAA for Samsung. It applies to students.edu, military personnel, first responders, right? Or if your company has an association with Samsung, call HR, they might have the same special pricing. But it's all the same. You got to make sure your emails match. The email to your organization, edu, whatever, has to be how you register with Samsung.com, and then you validate and you're done. Okay. Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll take 2 more questions and we'll be done. Let me double check. I don't have any more super chats. Okay, we'll take a few more questions and we'll be done. I'll be back if I don't get to your questions. QM6K Pro 85 inch or 77 inch S90F. Oh man, it's 2 completely different TVs. It's 77 inch. It's just such a good TV. I know the 85 inch is larger, but the image quality, this is a case where unless you're going 98 inch QM6K, if you're going 98 inch QM6K, I would go with the 98 inch QM6K. But the 77 and 85 are close enough in size. I'd go with the superior image quality of the S90F 77 inch sports, streaming, Netflix, because the QM6K isn't that much brighter than the 77. 98, I'd go with the QM6K, but 85, I'd go with the S90F 77 inch. So tell me what you choose and whether you enjoy the TV. And here we go. Does the S90F have the same upscaling processor quality as S90F? Technically, lesser processor, but for all intents and purposes, as far as comparison, it looks the same to me. So I compared it next to last year's S95D, and then I looked at the S95F, and you know what? If it's any differences, it's so minor as to not be worth talking about and deciding. The price premium on the S95F is for the anti-glare matte screen and the One Connect box, not the upscaling processor quality. So at 55, 65, and 77 inch, get the S90F. Now at the 83 inch, the S95F uses a brighter primary RGB, I believe. So that's a whole different discussion. But I'd go with the S90F. And does it have the same processor? Technically, it's not supposed to. But, like, is it really? I mean, it's supposed to be different, but I don't know. I think it could just be a technicality. It looks the same to me. Okay, so yeah, everyone who's asking, is the processor better in the S90F, S95F? The names are different, but I don't think it's better. Go with the S90F and don't worry about the processor. Just, okay. And I think on that note, we'll end today's stream. I think that's a great way to put that to bed. This is why the S90F was my editor's choice. It's because I didn't find it to be significantly worse than the S95F in terms of processor, but the pricing is so much more important, compelling, because the S95F Premium, honestly, what you are paying for is the One Connect box, which is very difficult to do, by the way. The One Connect box costs money, and the anti-glare matte screen costs a little bit of money. Taken together, that's really what you're paying for, and then on the software side, they're unleashing more brightness a little bit. S90F, no One Connect box, no matte screen. Software holds it back a little bit on brightness, but not so much that it makes a difference. So I would go with the S90F. If you need the anti-glare matte, S95F. If you don't, S90F. If you need the brightest possible QD OLED, S95F. But if you don't notice, like if you don't watch in dynamic mode and you're just watching in normal filmmaker mode, active, static, S90F will look the same. So yeah, that's my final word on this. I'm sure we'll have this question again in my next live stream. But yes, hey, love you too, Gara Fitzgerald. And so thank you for coming, everyone. We're going to have more of these live streams leading up to our live Black Friday live stream. But until next time, my friends, stop the phone and hold on to your questions. I'll be back later in the week.